Media fraternity farewells OP. 70 Morobean youths surrender for a better chance at life. And Australian Foreign Minister vouches for PNG Authorities.
This is National EMTV News with Helen Sayer.
Good evening and thank you for joining us for Wednesday's news. The media fraternity of Papua New Guinea today paid their last respects to one of the country's most outstanding journalists, the late Oa Filimon. Known to many as OP, he was an instrumental figure promoting the freedom of press in his journalism career. All these accorded him the respect to be one of the country's best. OP was also a key player in the anti-guns campaign in Papua New Guinea. He was the longest-serving editor and editor-in-chief of the Post-Korea newspaper and also served as president of the PNG Media Council.
Family, friends, public figures and the media fraternity gathered at the Sioni Kami Memorial Church to bid the final farewell to the late Oa Filimon. Known to many as OP, he served the industry for more than 30 years, building vast experiences in journalism. In his career as a journalist, he pushed for freedom of the press with an eye for conveying issues that needed to be addressed through his pen and notebook. An example was his contribution to the Guns Control Committee. Through this, it was also the beginning of a friendship with former PNG Defence Force Commander Jerry Singrock. Mr. Singrock said the late OP was a man of his own caliber. He was a bit of a rare kind to run a story and remain persistent. As a well-respected journalist, OP was a member of the Media Council and once president from 2003 to 2005. Paying tribute to him today, PNG Media Council President Alexander Rini said the late OP was the ultimate journalist who left behind a big legacy. He described him as someone who translated for a better PNG through the post-Korea. Apart from his professional career as a journalist, he was also a member of the National Library and National Archives. He served as the chairman in 2004. He was known as a man who was passionate about literacy and library reading. This was from Kaikoto Kaso, Director General of the National Library and National Archives. The late OP from Labu in Morobe province passed away over a week ago and is survived by 5 children and 15 grandchildren. Merlin Diaukatam, National EMTV News.
About 70 youths from Situm in Morobe province are preparing to surrender themselves and their homebrew equipment and weapons to police and community leaders. The youths told EMTV today for a long time they have been neglected and most of them had to turn to illegal activities like brewing of homebrew in order to survive. Spokesman Jack Tianeng said this year they want to work with relevant authorities and the government to prevent law and order issues in Situm.
Situm village is in Ward 13 of Labuta LLG in the Nawai district of Morobe province. Law and order problems here are no different from any other settlement in Lake City. Spokesman Jack Tineng has been working to change the mindsets of youths in this part of the province. They have formed an association to seek support from the provincial government, relevant authorities and community leaders. The youths want the relevant authorities to engage them in agricultural programs to keep them focused.
Youths, mi come one thinking, mi talk sorry lo papa mama. The one person no good mi been making me come, right bla. Na mi ask him long. Mi beg him you long, talk sorry. Ose mi kain pigini yosem now mi come osem. The one thinking na goal mi and plenty stuff na mi go work lem. It's the group been start finish na been die but 2017 mi kirapim want strong na. Mi can come up with some role model long Papua New Guinea.
Some of these items used to produce homebrew or payawara as it is more commonly known were handed over to community leaders. More of these illegal items will be handed over to police soon. This group of young men admitted that they were the ones causing problems in the community for the last several years.
That's why people youths, people start behind on this law. So now, people look sour, this is life. I'm no good life. When mibla been struggling migam lo yes. Ose mibla begging papa mama, mibla talk sorry. Ose now, mibla la holy man one time, mibla la son of one time papa mama, mibla la son of one time community elders, mibla la son of one time police, na mibla la enforce him. One and something have stopped inside of the community blow me, I'm going to come up good plan, and I'm going to come up good place blow me stop.
However, this year they will be shifting their focus to dedicating their time and efforts to bringing back the good image of their community, which they themselves had tarnished a long time ago. Matalois, National EMTV News, Ley.
Papua New Guinea Defence Force Chief of Staff Colonel Ray Numa says the confrontation between soldiers and police at the Boroko police station will not affect preparation for security operations leading up to the national general elections and 2018 APEC summit. Colonel Numa's comment comes after a preliminary investigation was conducted into what instigated the confrontation. The investigation was led by a commanding officer of the Force Support Battalion.
The preliminary report reveals that the confrontation between the PNGDF soldiers and police was a result of an earlier incident at the road leading into the Taroma Army Barracks. The report stated that an oncoming police vehicle stopped Lieutenant Joe Mondo and Captain Alphonse Bige and assaulted the soldiers and their families. It was reported that a civilian pistol and other personal items were taken from the vehicle. Following the assault, PNGDF Chief of Staff Colonel Ray Numa told EMTV News that members of the 1st Royal Pacific Islands Regiment at Taroma went to the Boroko police station to confirm if the matter was reported.
The soldiers from one appearance originally went up there to confirm following the incident.
However, the second group that went involved soldiers from the Force Support Battalion at Murray Barracks. This was the group that assaulted senior police officers and fired gunshots at the Boroko police station. EMTV News caught the confrontation on camera, which lasted for at least 5 minutes. Meanwhile, Colonel Numa said those soldiers allegedly involved and if found to have breached the military code of conduct will be internally disciplined.
Soldiers are not above the law, so they will face the appropriate law if they are found to have breached those regulations. So we cooperate with the police, civil police, and get down to the bottom of this matter and deal with those.
A formal complaint has been laid at the Boroko police station, and commanding officer of the Force Support Battalion is working with police to have those soldiers disciplined under the civil law. Takla Gunga, National EMTV News.
Pomo MP Elias Kapavore has brushed off allegations of illegal logging activities and oil palm in the Pomo district of East New Britain province. He says the two companies, Rimbunan Hijau, a logging company, and Zen New Guinea, an oil palm developer, are operating under close watch from his district's administration. Mr. Kapavore says the two Malaysian companies operating in Pomo are providing public services that the PNG government hasn't provided in many years. Edwin Fidelis reports from Kokopo.
Pomo district is a district in need. For more than 30 years, this part of East New Britain province remained largely forgotten by successive governments. A combination of ill political will and landowners' dispute over land demarcations has made development in the district a slow and painful experience for the people here. Poor road infrastructure, health and education services have been a daily struggle for the Pomo people. In recent years, there are clouds of controversies hanging over the much talked about SABL, oil palm and illegal logging involving the Malaysian logging giant Rimbunan Hijau in Pomo district. But the Pomo MP Elias Kapavore had brushed off claims of any illegal operations by the Malaysian developer that had been operating in the district for more than 10 years.
So that means we need partners, and we are privileged to have Zen New Guinea here, and we are privileged to have RH towards in West Pomo Mamusi going towards Melkoi. Without these development partners, some of our people will still continue to walk the mountains today. They will not. They actually have not ridden in trucks for the last 40 years.
Developments happening here over the years has been very slow. Poor basic service delivery has pushed the district to open its doors to outsiders that are willing to partner with the district's administration and bring development to the Pomo people.
I support the company, and I'm here on behalf of my people. And I've actually told the company that I represent my people, and it's up to the people. If they sign concession, if they sign some lease agreement, and for the company to enter into the new areas, I will not support them. I will not stop the companies for going to areas which the landowners wanted them to go in, because they want the roads to go in there.
Mr. Kapavore, since taking office after being elected in the Pomo by-elections in 2015, has taken a different approach through the public-private partnership concept, hoping to make a difference during his term in office. The district has partnered with Rimbunan Ijau and Jan New Guinea, another Malaysian oil palm developer operating in the district. While the approach has raised questions over illegal logging and oil palm dealings, the district administration says they are aware of the implications of the developments, but it says the district is putting its people first, as there are communal understanding between the people, the government and the foreign developers. Edwin Fidelis, National EMTV News, Kokopo.
Correctional Service Commissioner Michael Waipo said 29 prisoners from Boram Correctional Institution in Wewak escaped whilst detainees were queuing up for their afternoon dinner. 27 remandees and 2 convicted inmates escaped. 9 were recaptured, 2 were shot dead and 7 returned to the prison while 20 are still at large. Waipo said officers on the ground discovered that pliers were used to cut the inner, center and the outer perimeter fence before their escape. The inmates dashed for freedom towards the staff quarters to the Perigo Creek and the nearby bushes. However, they were sighted and confronted by CS officers after the alarm was sounded. The escapees fought back and some did get injured. Among stories ahead in the bulletin, Australia's Foreign Minister says PNG authorities are capable of dealing with refugees who don't follow the law. That story and more when we come back. Welcome back. Following the alleged assaults and arrest of 2 refugees in Manus, Australian Foreign Affairs Minister Peter Dutton has expressed confidence in PNG authorities dealing with the matter. Dutton said from reports he had received, both had acted beyond local laws. He expressed this after hearing facts surrounding the circumstances when the 2 Iranian refugees were arrested.
Following the widespread publication of the 2 refugees alleged to be bashed by police and immigration officials in Manus on New Year's Eve, the Australian Foreign Affairs Minister Peter Dutton has confidence on the Papua New Guinea officials dealing with refugees who act unlawfully. Dutton stated this after sourcing information from PNG authorities. Meanwhile, the refugee advocate Collison has also called on the Australian government to investigate the matter. This comes after 2 Iranian men were alleged to have been under the influence of alcohol and acted disorderly in Loringa town and were confronted by police and immigration officials. According to police in Manus, both refused arrest and relevant force was used to arrest the 2 refugees. They were later released on bail and are waiting to stand trial at the Loringa District Court. Jack Lopave Jr., National EMTV News.
In a separate incident, police in Manus arrested another 3 refugees on Monday. The 3 refugees, aged between 26 and 28, were out drinking in public and being a nuisance around Loringa town. Manus Acting Provincial Police Commander Senior Inspector David Yapu said the trio were arrested and later released on bail. Inspector Yapu said the 3 Bangladeshi refugees will appear at the Loringa District Court on January 6th. Images of the second suspect allegedly involved in the 1.2 million kina heist in Port Moresby, who was found dead at Laloki River, have been released to the media. Locals who live beside the river helped authorities recover the body. They built a raft using banana tree trunks and ferried the body to the river banks. This is the second death in relation to the 1.2 million kina robbery. NCD Metropolitan Superintendent Ben Turi told the media the suspect was still on the run when his body was discovered last Friday. Part of his left arm was missing and his face appeared bruised. Meanwhile, a third suspect was picked up by police in Sogeri's Central Province and is in police custody.
Me plus a pineapple fish, na me plus a cook, was more something. Time only spot him this body. I'm only person and will come through Lomi. So me go inside long Laloki River. And me pass namelol rabbis. Me mas rasumol rabbis clean him go through. Me sing out him all place mangi. Only come help me long. This morning no Saturday. La walk him all banana raft. Me plus rasum body. Na me put him go to raft, me float him go down long sand where all St. John's ambulance come na kiss him.
Badihagwa Secondary School is one of the oldest schools in the National Capital District that was established in 1967. This year turns 50 years, but still faces some of the chronic problems like staff housing that cannot accommodate more than 50 teachers. According to Principal Marubala, for 30 years there has been no government funding for renovation of staff houses. DW journalism student Sawato Hahambu has this report.
Staff housing has become one of the main problems here at Badihagwa Secondary School in Port Moresby. Despite fundings from the government, the Board of Governors has provided 12 staff houses. With a staff ceiling of 54, only 22 have been provided with accommodation.
We urge in the, whoever out there to assist, as we are very desperate for staff housing here. Because Board of Governors can do very little with the government direction of restriction in regard to project fees. Thank God that I have parents who are in army, and so this army house was contributed by my parents from Tarama Barracks. And so from this house camp, I operated from this camp for 5 months. And after 5 months, you'll see on the other side, the Board of Governors decided to build a one-bedroom house for me to operate.
Mr. Bala is one of the longest-serving staff of Badihagwa Secondary School and has been living in this makeshift tent after the house he was living touched down in flames last year. Some of the parents provided him with an army tent, which he was living in for 5 months now, after the Board of Governors built him a one-bedroom house. Bala says it has been his 22 years here in the institution and nothing has been done from the government. Sawato Hahambu, National EMTV News.
On a related note, Badihagwa Secondary School, located 4 kilometers outside the city, has 2 staff houses that have been unoccupied since 2012. School Principal Marubala says they are not allowed to use the buildings because the contractors are still waiting to be paid by the National Education Department.
These 4-bedroom houses were built under the National Department of Education's residential project at a cost of up to 1.2 million. This amount is yet to be paid.
No one has moved in because the houses have not been paid. So the houses are left vacant.
But staff are all over the city, even in Square Settlement. Some are renting, well, most of them are renting houses.
Mr. Bala also says they are hoping to use the buildings before they rot, but there is still no response.
When they're paid by the NDOE, but every time I go up there, the secretary say no money. That's the bottom line. There's no need to beat around.
The school was elevated to level 10 secondary school just last year. Mr. Bala says during his 22 years of service in the school, NCDC has never shown any assistance. However, the building projects are all the Board of Governors initiatives. Gaile Kivali, National EMTV News.
The second batch of students will be registered for the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery or MBBS program at Divine Word University. Amidst heavy criticism when the program was introduced last year, an approval was granted by the National Health Department for the Catholic Educational Institution to continue this program this year.
New students, 11 females and 19 males have been selected for the Bachelor of Medicine and Bachelor of Surgery program at Divine Word University. They will join the pioneer batch that enrolled last year
when the MBBS program was introduced. Their names have been posted on the DW website www.dw.ac.pg under the non-school leaver category. The pioneer students will return for the second year of studies at the Madang campus when the academic year resumes. In an early interview with Dean of Faculty of Medicine and Health Sciences, Dr. Clement Malau, Divine University desires to assist Papua New Guinea address the inadequate health service delivery in the country. He said the 5-year MBBS program is designed to produce doctors with a commitment and clinical competency to serve the population of Papua New Guinea. Health Secretary Pasco Kase told MTV News that the approval was granted considering the human resource crisis of the health sector and the clinical need for more doctors to serve in Papua New Guinea.
We have a number of meetings so far. We know that the setting up of a school or a big institution will not meet all the standards on day one. It will take years to establish those processes.
Mr. Kase said the National Health Department will continue to monitor the MBBS program to its standard. Fabian Hakelitz, National MTV News.
And now looking at our finance news, the kina closed unchanged at $0.3150 in the interbank markets. At Bank South Pacific, your kina was buying $0.3075 $0.4236 Australian dollars, $0.293 euro and 35.91 Japanese yen. Looking at commodity prices at New York close, gold closed lower while coffee, cocoa and copra closed higher. Palm oil closed lower while copper with crude oil closed higher. And on the stock market, the Dow Jones closed at 119 points higher, the ASX is trading at 96 points lower, and the All Ordinaries is trading at 65 points higher. Still to come in the news, state of emergency extended in Istanbul, new US senators sworn in, and the latest on the earthquake in Fiji. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the news. As 115th Congress opened on Tuesday, outgoing U.S. Vice President Joe Biden swore in newly elected and re-elected U.S. senators. Republican Paul Ryan of Wisconsin was elected on a vote of 239 to 189 to serve as the Speaker of the House for the 115th Congress.
Do you solemnly swear?
The new Republican order is taking shape tonight in Washington. For the first time in a decade, Republicans set to control the House, Senate, and White House.
We know that the coming days are going to require hard work and cooperation from both sides.
Mitch McConnell of Kentucky becoming Senate Majority Leader as the 115th Congress opened for business. Paul Ryan of Wisconsin easily re-elected Speaker of the House.
This old chamber might look the same, but in the hushed whispers, in the whirl of activity, you can feel the winds of change.
In just 17 days, Donald Trump will join them as president, completing the GOP's ascension to power. The optimistic applause echoing across the Capitol will soon give way to the challenges of governing, with Republicans facing the burden of delivering on the change voters demanded. From making good on their pledge to repeal and replace Obamacare, to passing tax reform and easing government regulations, Republicans are crafting a bold agenda. Speaker Ryan called it a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity.
The people have given us unified government. And it wasn't because they were feeling generous. It was because they want results. How could we live with ourselves if we let them down?
Out of power, Democrats say they will find common ground when they agree and hold their ground when they do not. In the House, Republicans now have a majority of 241 to 194. Yet in the Senate, Republicans still need Democrats, with Republicans holding 52 seats and Democrats 48. Most pieces of legislation need 60 votes to pass.
When you lose an election like this, you can't flinch. You can't blink. You have to look it right in the eye, analyze it, learn from it.
The Trump cabinet will be one early test. Secretary of State nominee Rex Tillerson and Defense Secretary nominee retired General James Mattis visiting Capitol Hill today, preparing for their confirmation hearings. In a day of pomp and pageantry, the new Congress came with one old touch.
We're having a conversation.
Vice President Joe Biden, in his formal role presiding over the Senate, swearing in one final class of senators. It's one of his last official acts after 44 years in Washington.
Anyone else want to be sworn in?
Vice President-elect Mike Pence coming to the Capitol on Wednesday to work with Republicans over how and when to repeal Obamacare. President Obama also set to be at the Capitol on Wednesday, trying to urge Democrats to hold fast on that key piece of his legacy and others. This is all coming some 16 days before Donald Trump is set to take office. Hillary Clinton and Bill Clinton will also be at the inauguration on January 20th, the first time the two rivals will come face to face since their bitter election last year.
In Australia, the Victims of Crime Commission is calling for child killers to be locked up for life after a horror year of family violence. 9 children and 21 women were murdered in 2016, and that number is rising.
Murdered at 6 months old, Chase Deering was the youngest victim last year, but sadly not the only baby. Sanaya Sahib had just turned 1 when her life was brutally cut short.
Now we're seeing, unfortunately, large numbers of children being murdered as well,
prompting a push for mandatory life sentences for all those convicted of killing children.
What we're doing now simply isn't working.
So they should never have any rights to come out or apply for any parole or anything at all.
Messina Helvargas had her whole life ahead of her when a serial killer ripped it all away. Her family says their only solace is Peter Dupas will die behind bars.
He took Messina's life, but he's not out there taking anybody else's life.
Last year in Victoria, 9 children were killed, along with 21 women, almost double that of the year before. That's 1 death every 12 days.
The rate of murder of women and children is still unacceptably high, and that the majority of the risk comes from within their own homes.
Critics of the proposal are concerned it goes against one of the cornerstones of the justice system, that prisoners deserve the chance for rehabilitation. It would also remove judges' discretion to consider unique facts and circumstances.
Mandatory sentencing is never a great idea in my view.
It's not a great idea.
They've taken away more than one life.
Behind the smiling photographs, 30 families grieve.
An earthquake in Fiji this morning sparked a tsunami alert. The 69 magnitude struck southwest of the island just before 11 a.m. local time. The tsunami warning sparked panic in the capital, Suva. Locals were told to run to higher grounds. At least 2 aftershocks were recorded. No major damages and tsunami happened. Turkey's parliament voted on Tuesday in favor of extending emergency rule by a further 3 months effective from January 19. The extension of emergency rule comes as Turkey reels from a series of deadly attacks by Islamist or Kurdish militants, most recently on Sunday when a lone gunman shot dead 39 people in a packed Istanbul nightclub during New Year celebrations.
At least 39 killed revelers at a nightclub on New Year's Eve. Just the latest deadly attack in Turkey. In 2016 alone, 45 people killed at Istanbul's Ataturk airport in June. No one has claimed responsibility, though the Turkish government blames ISIS. An explosion at a wedding in Gaziantep in August killed close to 50 people. Tourists targeted, the Russian ambassador assassinated. Who are Turkey's enemies and why do they keep attacking?
Turkey's borders are with that of Iraq and with Syria, both home to large Kurdish populations. And there's instability in both of those states, which have allowed the rise of militant groups such as the Islamic State to really gain momentum and then attack Turkey in turn.
Kurdish separatists have long held Turkey in their sights. Their tactics, at times brutal. Twin bombings killed dozens at an Istanbul soccer stadium last month, claimed by the Kurdish separatist group TAK, an offshoot of the banned Kurdish Workers' Party. The government responding, carrying out regular and deadly attacks in Turkey's Kurdish region. On Turkey's borders, the civil war in Syria has given Turkey another front to fight. ISIS, with its stronghold in Syria, claimed this latest nightclub attack. at a point when Turkey has immersed itself deeper in the Syrian question, battling both ISIS and Kurdish fighters in northern Syria and working closely with Russia to come up with a peace proposal. But this alignment between Turkey and Russia also leads to questions about where Turkey sees its relationship with the United States, which backs those same Kurdish fighters in Syria. All of this against the backdrop of Turkey's own internal political struggle. Last July's attempted coup and subsequent emergency measures not just resulted in thousands of civil servants and military personnel being detained,
where individuals who have had years of experience in dealing with terrorism are no longer there, instead replaced by...
Chukai Sports is next. Hunter's team finalized and the Rajianas need a coach. Those stories and more when we come back.
Chukai Sports.
Welcome to Chukai Sports. SB Hunters coach Michael Marum has finalized his squad to take part in the 2017 Queensland Intra Super Cup competition, which kicks off in 8 weeks' time. The 33-man squad assembled in Port Moresby yesterday following the Christmas-New Year break. The squad will be training tomorrow at 3 p.m. at the National Football Stadium. The position of a national coach for the Women's National Rugby League team is being advertised. A coach for the Rajianas is to be appointed this month to start preparations for the Rugby League World Cup.
The Rajianas will compete against Australia, New Zealand, Canada, England and Cook Islands. PNG RFL hope to appoint a coach before the end of February. The new coach will start with talent identification and player pathways.
Adverts will be going out for the position and hopefully we'll get to appoint one before the end of February to take up the national women's coach.
This will be the first assignment for the new CEO in identifying a national coach for the women's team. The final team for the Rajianas will be selected in July after the National Confederate Championships.
Our selection process happens at our trials. We have a Confederate Championships that happen that brings together all the top players from the Confederate, affiliate leagues in the Confederate. They do the selections, they come to the nationals. So our national team is always selected at the national championships. Just because you're coming to academy training camp or you're part of the elite development program does not mean you'll make the national team. You'll have to go to the championships to earn your stripes, so to speak.
Saka added the development of Women's Rugby League has improved over the past 3 years and he is quite confident the Rajianas can win the World Cup.
We're also looking at the opportunities to bring in our top Papua New Guinean women playing overseas, especially in Queensland. We have a group of young ladies playing there, so how we merge our local team with the national team, that's one of the assignments that the new coach will take up. So that's why we need to appoint the coach properly, so quickly, so that they can roll with the program of bringing our best talent together and putting our best team together so that our girls can actually win the World Cup, which we think we can do for the women. That's the challenge.
Elijah Levet, National EMTV Sports.
The PNG Rugby Football League Annual General Meeting has been scheduled for February 25th this year. Chairman of the PNG RFL, Sandy Saka, says the venue of the AGM is yet to be confirmed.
It is an election AGM. The term of the board lapses this year, so the AGM is normally held in Lae at the Melanesian, but the Melanesian has been demolished. So normally we go down to Lae, so the venue will be notified, but it'll be in Lae or somewhere thereabouts on the 25th of February 2017. Proper notices for the AGM and the requirements and all that will go out by the 27th of January. And the meeting, AGM will be on Saturday, the 25th of February 2016. 2017. So.
The Port Moresby Suburban League competition is going through a transition period after new management was put in place since mid-2016. The new Chief Executive Officer, Sengelo Skonga, said the management is slowly working its way up to finalize all settlements before they can successfully approach 2017, just before the proper season kicks off.
2017 will be a very busy year for the new management of the Port Moresby Suburban League as it settles in to move things forward ahead of the proper season competitions. Elected CEO Sengelo Skonga said the new administration is currently going through a transition period to prepare for the year.
Due to the fact that the former president, his situation or his case, there was a change of the management, of course, and which actually got me into the position, and at the moment I am the Chief Executive Officer of the Pomo Suburban Sports League Association. For the Rugby Football League itself, Mr. Peter White is the president, with Noel Mapa, the vice president. We have a secretary, Wendy Koho, and of course the operation manager is Mr. Moxie Council.
While 2016 ended on a high note, under his watch, he said 2017 won't be any different, but more change is expected of this year. Skonga said a proper structure will be put in place where no one is excluded.
Well, for 2017, our aim is to actually come up with a better planned structure where we're going to actually involve each of the electorate here. Like in National Capital District, we have 3 electorates. Now, our aim is to extend that to include Motu Koita. So our plan is to get 4 teams from each electorate, so that there is going to be a proper rep in terms of the sport in this case Rugby Football League.
While negotiations with NCD Sports Desk this year will see more incentive opportunities as well as inclusion of other sporting codes. Godbineki, National EMTV Sports.
And to football, 2016 Telecom NSL champions Lay City Dwellers have requested their fans and supporters to stay away from the politics currently engulfing the PNG football. A statement from the club's social media page stated the move by current acting LFA president Andrew Nirik to withdraw from PNG FA was conducted without proper consultation with association members. Lay City Dwellers is a team formed under the Lay Football Association and fears that a breakaway league, which is currently being mooted, may affect Dwellers' preparations for the National Soccer League and the OFC Champions League. Training has commenced last month. Trukai Sports continues after the break. Don't go away.
Trukai Sports.
Welcome back to Trukai Sports. Season 5 of the PIH Corporate Indoor Cricket will resume round 8 of competition this weekend. This comes after more than 2 weeks of break to accommodate the festive season. Must-see matches include top-ranked Puma Energy versus BSP, with PIH up against Avis. 4 Chelsea football fans were given suspended jail sentences and fined €10,000 by a Paris court yesterday for committing racist violence on a metro underground train in the French capital in February 2015. Video footage from the scene shows the 4 who were there to watch the London club play Paris Saint-Germain in a Champions League match, chanting, "We're racist and that's the way we like it," as they blocked black Frenchman Suleiman Sila from getting on the train. The accused, Richard Barkley and William Simpson, who were not in court, were given 12-month suspended sentences on charges of committing racist violence and making chants of a racist nature. Josh Parsons and James Fairbairn, both of whom appeared in court on Tuesday, were handed suspended sentences of 8 months and 6 months respectively on similar charges.
Des responsabilités individuelles. J'y vois là une incompréhension et je pense que cette décision est une mise en garde pour les supporters de Chelsea. Je vous remercie.
The 2016 NRL premiers, Cronulla Sharks, have now set their sights on another premiership. With March 2nd just around the corner, the men in blue are all geared up for the season opener against the Brisbane Broncos.
I don't know why we can't win again, are the words of Cronulla Sharks coach Shane Flanagan. A bold but calculating statement from a coach who brought the Sharks to the first victory last year after 49 years. Though there are few replacements that need to take place, such as those of retired hooker Michael Ennis and suspended fullback Ben Baba.
We're there now, which is great, but I want to get to that and I want to win it now.
The first match is against the Brisbane Broncos in March, which will also be the opener of the season and, more importantly, the liftoff of their flight towards the possible second title. Dean Rose Ryko, National EMTV Sports.
The 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games is set to be staged in the Bahamas as the Caribbean island nation braces itself to host the event's largest ever program of team sports. 48 international sides were invited to compete at the 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games.
The unveiling of the 48 international sides sets a record-breaking lineup that will generate opportunities for more than 300 young athletes from right across the Commonwealth, including Rugby Sevens, and for the first time ever on a youth games program, beach volleyball and beach soccer. A total of 24 teams are set to be fielded in beach volleyball, a sport which is due to make its debut in the Commonwealth Games program on the Gold Coast in 2018. The inclusion of beach soccer in the Bahamas 2017 program as an additional team sport will for the first time see beach soccer played in Commonwealth Youth Games. The three codes of Rugby Sevens, beach volleyball and beach soccer are labeled as innovative and inspiring sports that will add to the thrilling dimension of the Caribbean celebration of sporting events. Dubbed as the nation's first ever multi-sporting event, the largest ever edition of the Games with up to 1,300 athletes aged 14 to 18, set to participate in 2017 Commonwealth Youth Games, due to run from July 19 to 23rd. The 2017 Games will see 94 medals contested across 9 sports and will also see the introduction of 3 new sports, beach soccer, beach volleyball and judo. It will also be the first time women's boxing and judo for both men and women have been presented at the Commonwealth Youth Games. Shane Saroya, National EMTV Sports.
And that's a wrap for True Kai Sports. Up next, the weather details for the next 24 hours.
Kai Sports. True Kai Sports.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Looking at the weather forecast for tonight and tomorrow, in the southern region, a shower or two in Port Moresby, mostly fine in Daru, Kerma, Alotau and Popondetta. In the Momasi region, a shower or two in Lae, and mostly fine in Medang, Wewak and Vanimo. In the New Guinea Islands region, mostly fine in Lorengau, a shower or two in Kavieng, Kokopo, Rabaul, Kimbe and Buka. And in the Highlands region, a shower or two, then morning fog in all centres.
The weather details are proudly brought to you by Dulux Weather Shield. Worth doing with Dulux.
Before we go, a recap on tonight's main stories. Another city group questions eviction notice. Final farewell to the late OP. Morobe youths make life-changing choice. And Australian Foreign Minister vouches for PNG Authorities. And that's been the news, sports and weather for tonight. Thank you for your company. Good night.